The night was quiet in the small town of Redwood Creek, the kind of town where time seemed to move slower, where old neon signs flickered outside corner bars, and where everyone knew everyone else's business. Inside Murphy's Tavern, the jukebox hummed softly with a country ballad, the smell of aged wood and spilled beer filling the room. At the far end of the bar, sitting alone, was Hank Lawson. Hank was 90 years old, his back bent from years of service and hard labor, but his spirit still carried the fire of the soldier he once was. He wore his old army jacket, faded and patched in places, with medals tucked carefully in the inside pocket. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted a glass of bourbon, but his eyes, sharp, piercing, and lined with the wisdom of years, held the weight of stories no one else in the room could imagine. Hank wasn't there to cause trouble. He just liked the sound of voices, the company of people, even if most of them didn't notice him anymore. To many, he was just an old man, sitting quietly, lost in his own world. But in his heart, Hank carried memories of brothers lost on foreign soil, nights spent under skies lit by fire, and promises made to never let their sacrifices be forgotten. The door to the tavern creaked open, breaking the calm. A man swaggered in, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. He was in his 30s, broad-shouldered, with tattoos crawling up his arms and a cruel smirk etched permanently on his face. His name was Travis Malone, a local troublemaker who thrived on fear. People shifted uncomfortably when he walked in, some lowering their heads, others pretending to be lost in their drinks. Travis had a reputation. He liked to push people around, to make himself feel bigger by making others feel small. Tonight, he scanned the bar, his eyes landing on Hank. The old man looked fragile, like an easy target. Travis grinned. He stomped over and leaned against the bar next to Hank, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Well, look at this. Old man Lawson, still dragging yourself in here, huh? You must be what, 100 years old now?" Hank didn't look at him. He simply sipped his bourbon, his silence steady, controlled. Travis sneered. "What's the matter, Grandpa? Can't hear me? Or are you too busy remembering those war stories you keep boring people with?" A few people shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. Everyone knew Travis was unpredictable. Hank finally turned his head, his voice calm, quiet, but firm. "Respect is something you give, son, not something you take." Travis laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "Respect? You think anyone respects some washed-up old soldier? You're nothing but a relic. A burden. Should have stayed gone when your time was up." The words cut through the bar like a knife. Hank clenched his jaw, but he didn't rise to the bait. He had faced worse than this in his lifetime. But Travis wanted a reaction. He leaned closer, his voice dripping with mockery. "What did you even fight for, huh? A flag? A country that doesn't give a damn about you now? You're pathetic." And then, without warning, Travis raised his hand and slapped Hank across the face. The sound echoed through the tavern, silencing the jukebox, silencing every breath in the room. Hank's head snapped to the side. For a moment, time froze. The old man's cheek reddened, but his eyes burned with the fire of every battle he had ever fought. He didn't raise a hand. He didn't need to. He just looked at Travis, his gaze steady, unshaken. What Travis didn't know, what no one in that bar realized, was that Hank Lawson had a son. His only son. And his son wasn't just anyone. His son was Jack Lawson, captain of the local Hells Angels chapter. A man feared and respected in equal measure, a man whose loyalty to family was absolute, and whose love for his father knew no bounds. Word of the slap spread faster than wildfire. By the next afternoon, Jack Lawson knew. And when Jack knew, the whole town knew something was coming. Jack arrived in Redwood Creek the following evening, his Harley rumbling down Main Street like a thunderclap. Behind him rode a dozen of his brothers, leather vests glinting with the infamous patch, Hells Angels. The town went still. Curtains were drawn. People whispered. They all knew what it meant when the Angels rolled in. But Jack wasn't there to start a war. He was there for his father. He walked into Murphy's Tavern, his presence filling the room before he even spoke. Tall, broad, his beard flecked with gray, his eyes dark and unyielding, he was a man who commanded attention without asking for it. He found Hank sitting in his usual spot, a bandage on his cheek but the same calm fire in his eyes. "Dad," Jack said quietly, placing a hand on his father's shoulder. Hank looked up, his lips twitching into the faintest smile. You didn't have to come. Yes, Jack said, his voice low, steady. I did. The bar was silent, every soul waiting, knowing what this meant. Travis wasn't there that night, but it didn't matter. Jack would find him. And when he did, Travis would learn the lesson his father had always taught him: you never, ever disrespect a veteran. But what came next wasn't just about revenge. It was about honor, about legacy, about a father and a son bound not just by blood, but by respect. When Jack finally confronted Travis, it wasn't in a back alley brawl or a blaze of fists. It was in front of the whole town. Jack dragged Travis into the same bar where he had humiliated Hank, forcing him to face the man he had struck. You see this man? Jack's voice boomed. This man fought for everything you take for granted. He bled so you could drink your beer, run your mouth, live your sorry excuse for a life. And you thought it was funny to slap him, to humiliate him. You don't know the meaning of strength. You don't know the meaning of respect. Travis trembled, the smirk gone, fear taking its place. Jack leaned closer, his voice like steel. You're lucky my father taught me restraint. Because if it were up to me, you'd already be gone. He shoved Travis down in front of Hank. You apologize. Right now. Travis stammered, his voice shaking. I'm sorry, Mr. Lawson. I didn't mean. Hank raised a hand, silencing him. His voice, though old and worn, carried the weight of a lifetime. Respect isn't in words. It's in actions. You want to make this right. Change the way you live. Otherwise, your apology means nothing. The bar remained silent as Travis scrambled out, his pride shattered. Jack turned to his father, his chest heaving, but Hank simply looked at him with pride. Still fighting my battles, even after all these years, Hank said softly. Jack shook his head. No, Dad. Just protecting the man who taught me what it means to fight in the first place. That night, father and son sat together, not as veteran and outlaw, but as two men bound by love and respect. And in the quiet glow of the tavern, the message lingered for everyone who witnessed it: respect your elders, honor those who sacrificed, and never mistake age for weakness. Because sometimes, behind the frail body of an old man, stands a legacy that even the toughest thug could never break.